Welcome to Bob Talk. So glad you've joined us. We're grateful to be here again. So we are excited about what God is going to give us today. We have a great topic today, talking about rest. Talking about rest. But before we get into it, let's just do our check-in. Jalen, what's giving your life? How you doing?
What's giving me life? That's a great question. Just Jesus is giving me life at this particular point. How are you?
I am so blessed. I'm excited about what God is doing. I think what's giving me life is there are a number of projects I've been working on, and I'm seeing the collection of people coming together. I was telling my wife this. I said, I see all the pieces. They're not together, but they're all on the table. So like a jigsaw puzzle, all the puzzles are on, all the pieces are on there. So I was like, I got all the pieces. It's just getting them together. So I'm excited about all the pieces. I'm a little drained because I put them all together, but which is a little more chore. But yeah, that's what's giving me life. Dr. Karen Stewart, we're so grateful. Thank you for being here. We're excited about having her here. Karen, what's giving you life, Pastor?
What's given me life is, we had a difficult weekend, but when you have people who love and support you and pray for you and bear your burdens with you, I had my own little Bob for the weekend. So that is what is giving me life. That reflection on that today is giving me life.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, Jalen, why don't you introduce our topic today for us?
Oh, okay. So our topic today is finding rest, and I think you want me to tell why I picked that one, or
I can put the quote up.
yeah, actually, yeah. So the quote that Pastor Aubrey is putting up right now is something that really impacted me a while ago. It's basically a quote that says, "I don't have to explain why I need a break, not even to myself. I do not have to earn rest." And that was something that really was impactful to me because I think a lot of times with the work that I do, I always try to say, "Oh, I'll do this and then I'll take a break." And it's like I don't have to work to earn rest. Like I might need rest, and so I think that other people may be experiencing that where they're not really getting the rest that they need or they're not giving themselves permission to rest. And so I thought that would be a really good topic for us to kind of dive into and have a conversation about.
That's good. That's good. Anything strike you about this quote, Pastor Karen?
What strikes me about the quote is we feel guilty. Let me not say we. I sometimes feel guilty when I am doing nothing. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, that I'm supposed to be productive. And this whole idea of earning rest, it's like if I, do this, I got to do these things. I think you said that earlier. If I do this, if I do that, I even found myself yesterday. Mondays are our Sabbath day, my husband and I. That's the day we endeavor to get rest from everything else. And stayed in the bed, stayed in my pajamas, stayed for a good long time until early in the afternoon. And then finally it was like, Karen, if you don't get up and fold those clothes. But the truth is, I was exhausted and the clothes could wait. But what did I do? I got up and folded the clothes because I thought I just need to look like I've done something today. So it's very interesting why we think we have to earn our rest. And I'm guilty of it. And I don't think I'm alone.
I
Yeah, I
know
don't
you're
think
not.
you're alone. And you could have said we. I totally
You're
would
the
have taken that.
I believe that's key, and I think sometimes what we don't do is we don't do an evaluation of everything we've done. We just sort of keep moving. I think our culture, our society currently, we just keep moving. We're constantly doing things, and sometimes you look up and you've spent hours doing things, and you didn't realize that you had done it. And to the point where I don't know that we equate physical energy along with mental energy. That even doing some things for a long period of time that requires you to use mind also requires rest, right?
Yes.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
And one of the things Linda and I went to a counselor, and the first thing he asked us, so how we're doing physically, and then he said, so how are you sleeping?
Mm-hmm.
Sleep? What is that about? He's like, you really are supposed to have 8 hours of sleep. What? 8 hours? Where am I going to get that? That will never work, right? But it really says that it requires intentionality.
Yeah.
And that intentionality, I think, is included in that quote, where it says, "This is not about our earning. This is." My mother used to say it this way: "We drink water," and she said, "I had to come to a place where I realized it wasn't about the water." She said, "It's not about the water. You got to drink." He's like, "Well, I don't like water." But it's not about the water. It's about the necessity your body needs. And I think it's the same with rest. And that we need to actually do it because it's necessary. The way that we said it in Overeaters was, we don't live to eat, we eat to live.
Mhm.
I
And I,
think for our culture, you were mentioning it, it's the grind, the rise and grind culture. I don't know if either of you've heard that, but it's this concept basically where you get up in the morning and you should be on your grind. And you're grinding to run a business, or you're grinding to go to work, or you're trying to make things happen. And being a mover and a shaker is kind of a badge of honor. And I know for me in particular, a lot of the work that I do is here at the house. So I have an office space, and I have my living room and my bedroom. Now, mind you, I live alone. Thank God I'm an empty nester. But what ends up happening is I end up taking my work into the living room. And then, okay, yeah, the TV's on, but I'm still working on my laptop, or I'm in my bedroom working on my laptop. And there isn't even a physical space designed or carved out for rest, because we have a tendency to feel like we're not being productive when we're resting, but we don't realize that rest is in fact production. It is your body producing what it needs to make it through to the next movement or the next day. So I think we need to kind of push forward on that a little bit. Maybe kind of talk about, where do we find rest at? Like, where's the thing? How do you get rest? Because we need it. But how do you get it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Pastor Karen, I was going to ask you, because you and Pastor Stewart are very dedicated in your Sabbath on Monday, and everybody pretty much knows it. What is that? What's your vision for that? Because I know it doesn't always end up, but what is your vision for that Sabbath rest?
That we don't work. It doesn't mean that we don't do the things in our personal life that we need to get done. So it becomes an errand day. It becomes if I don't want to do anything day. It is because and I appreciated you use the word grind, because we grind so hard Tuesday through Sunday, very early during the day, very late into the night. When Monday comes, we endeavor not to even take an early appointment, a personal appointment, just so we can sleep in. But you find yourself not resting because you don't get a personal life Tuesday through Saturday. So you squeeze your entire personal life into your Sabbath Monday. We do, into our Sabbath Monday. And we're finding now that we have to be very intentional about, okay, I'm not doing chores today. I'm going to sleep late, or we just have to do something that helps us to realign, so that we're just not on all the time, where you can literally disengage and be off and kind of, let your hair down and not do everything. But some of the things that we are intentional to get rest in some of our chores is, like, we date going to the grocery store, which is a chore. It's a terrible chore many people think of. But we joke and laugh and play, and people look at us in the grocery store and have literally come up to us in Walmart, because I swear, say we date at Walmart. They come up to us in Walmart and say, "You all have made my day," because we're just so jovial and joking and carrying on in the grocery store, because we may not get to a movie or something like that. And if we don't be intentional, even in our relationship, finding the joy in our relationship in Walmart, buying collard greens,
I love
then it might be a long time before we have a date. So we date in the daily activities that we do, and that gives us rest in the mundane.
that's
Right.
good.
I don't think anyone has ever really taught us rest as a general rule. See, they tell us, about the Sabbath. We understand what sleep is. And we don't understand that although sleep is a part of rest, is that it's not complete rest. And so there are other ways for us to rest. That's something that I had to learn. Nobody explained to me as a kid or a teenager. I can't ever remember anybody sitting down with me and explaining to me what rest is. I've always worked, even when I was a teenager. I didn't stop working until 2018, and that was to build Maxi X. So I've never had a period where rest was something that was being shared with me as an option until I started going to therapy. Then I'm like, rest? Well, no, I go to sleep every night at, such and such a time. They're like, well, that's not exactly, the only
Yeah.
way you can rest. And so I think that it's important for us to kind of explain some of the different ways that we can rest. I like you and Pastor Stewart's way of dating in the Walmart. That's pretty cool. But rest doesn't have to be that you're not doing anything. It could just be doing something that revives you. So something that gives you, Pastor Aubrey asked what gives you life, and that's kind of something that feels like rest to me. Baking cupcakes is rest for me. It's not a chore or anything hard. I love it and it makes me relax. So I think we need to kind of make sure that we understand that you may not know what rest is. And that's okay, because a lot of us had to learn what rest was because no one sits down with you and has that discussion.
I
No.
think that,
No one talks to you about what you're passionate about unless it's in the context of what do you rise up to do that you would do for free? That's how you should work. It's always your passion is even in the context of work. Even vacation and sick is in the context of you have to accrue it. So everything we learn is not right.
that's good.
Right.
That was real good. That point right there is worth watching this. I think when I think about it specifically as a rest, the hardest place for me to rest is in my mind.
Yes.
And that is the thing that is always, I can sit and be still, but my mind is still racing. And so when we identify that, like for example, when you're doing cupcakes, it says that my mind is not normally on other stuff while I'm doing cupcakes. I'm just sort of focusing on this, and it is relaxing because I have focused my attention on something that quote unquote seems meaningless, but it is also refreshing for me, restorative. I think changing your whole, and I love the paradigm, changing the paradigm of going to the grocery store. It's like, oh, well, we're not going to, and it sounds like it's not going to be a rushed activity, because many times
Wow.
even going to the grocery store, we make it a rushed activity, right? I got to go down this aisle, I'm going down here, and I got to get out of the store, and then we're standing there tapping our hands and waiting for the right line, looking for the line with the shortest people, and it's like, okay, so we have not taken the pleasure of just being present, and enjoying the presence of it. So that's exciting. One of the words that we had learned from a conference we went to in Wheaton was soul care. Soul care. I'm going to put Pastor Karen on because they were doing something now that is dealing with that. Could you talk a little bit about the 4 and 40?
The 4 and 40. So we are going to start it. We haven't started it. And if anybody from FIBC is watching, you'll hear about it shortly, because we kind of haven't
Launched it.
An idea that I had was to do 4 and 40 for our Lenten fast. Many times we think about Lent, we think about what we can give up. We never think about what we can gain, what we can do, and we never think really holistically. So the 4 and 40 is talking about fasting, and as it relates to your mind, body, soul, and spirit. And so with your mind, it is prayer and it is meditation as a lifestyle. So it's going to make you disengage from everything else and really focus your attention and your being on God. the body is, because COVID has done some things to us that may need to be undone, but the body is talking about exercise and unplugging from devices and clean eating. How can we just kind of do better? Not so much focusing on what I can't have, but really focusing on what I can have, what I can do so that my body is better. And then soul, it's having an attitude of gratitude, thankfulness as a practice. How can I be thankful in all things? That comes out of me and as I receive it. How can I find thankfulness even in the difficult things? And then the last one is spirit, and that is to be engaged in holistic worship, and also having an accountability group, because we've kind of gotten away from being in relationship. We do eat, meet, and greet, but can we have a koinonia, iron sharpens iron kind of fellowship with someone where we're holding one another accountable to mind, body, soul, and spirit, so that at the end of Lent, at the resurrection, that we can reflect back and be better over these 40 days. So that's our goal.
That's good. I love it. I love it. One of the things that came to mind was the necessity for having someone hold you accountable to rest.
Yes.
That there's and sometimes that can get irritating and it can be challenging. As a pastor, sometimes people say, "Pastor, did you get enough rest? You don't look. Have you been getting your rest?" And it can be irritating. Stop asking me. Yes, I got rest, right? But I realize it's necessary. It's the check and balance.
Yes.
And that not only as are you saying it to me, but you're also sort of challenged, because as you're asking me, you're asking yourself, and where am I? Um, the ability to do that. And I think even this 44 and 40 says that we need to rearrange whatever is necessary to maintain the well-being of our souls.
We don't believe that we can be a priority. And the truth is we can. And it is not being selfish. It's if the plane is going down, they tell you, put the oxygen mask on first so you can be helpful. And if you've run yourself into the ground, you cannot be helpful to yourself or the kingdom.
Yeah.
Jesus died for the church. I don't think he's asking us to do it again. Not.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting is a lot of times the guilt that we feel, and I know we kind of brought that up, and but you need to really let go of the idea that rest is a bad thing. It doesn't make you lazy to get rest. It doesn't make you, somebody who's slacking off. I mean, because you hear all of that dialogue when you decide to sit down, like you start thinking about all of the things that are undone. But rest is a priority. If you are not rested, like Pastor Stewart said, if you're not rested, then really, how are you going to take care of all of the other things that you have to do? If rest isn't on the top of your list, then how are you going to be equipped to do all of the things that you feel like you need to do? And really, it's a time for you to evaluate, do I really need to do all of this? Because a lot of times we have a feeling that if something doesn't get done immediately, if something doesn't get done right away, then we're some sort of a bad person. But the reality is that some of that stuff can wait. Some of that stuff can wait 15, 20 minutes while you take a deep breath and you meditate. Some of it can wait an hour. Some of it can wait till tomorrow. And the sooner you start to realize that what can't wait is your well-being, your overall well-being, then the sooner you get to a place where you don't feel guilty for being someone who needs to take care of themselves. Taking care of yourself is not about selfishness. I know you said that, and I think we need to reiterate it. It is not selfish to care for your own health and well-being. It's a 150% necessity. You have to be taking care of yourself and keeping yourself in mind when you start making moves and doing things in life.
Right. And to say you will rest on your vacation categorizes rest as a 1 week part of your life. Right. Instead of an active part of your everyday life. Yeah.
Right, I agree with that. Yeah.
There was a list that we were given in regards to the symptoms of soul neglect, and
Mm,
this was sort of enlightening. It says, listen, a soul that's neglected. In other words, you're neglecting caring for your soul, caring for yourself. Fear, anger, fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, judgmental. We medicate because of pain, physical symptoms, apathy. All of those are signs that we have neglected doing what we need for ourselves. And then the symptoms for a healthy soul, or a soul that is cared for, nurtured. There's peace, there's love, there's humility, there's passion, there's gratitude, there's energy, contentment,
mm,
courage, of course, the fruit of the Spirit, boldness, and the gifts of the Spirit manifesting. So I think there is this sense of serenity when I find that, and serenity then says that I have a sense of peace in the midst of what I'm doing. But I find that when I'm not in those positions, you will find me being angry unnecessarily. That you will find I'll find myself being anxious because of not getting enough rest. I don't think we make good decisions when we don't rest. I think that we make hasty decisions. I think part of our COVID weight had to do with the anxiety and the frustration and not resting. Even though we were in shutdown mode, there are folks who did not rest. They were sort of the hamster in the wheel. They're just doing all this stuff, trying to get ready for release. But it really was not really resting and taking time. In knowing that this is an opportunity for me to step back, to breathe. One of the things that they encourage us to do is take deep breaths during the day. It's a form of rest, and it's intentional. It's not, we don't accidentally breathe, take a long breath. We do it on purpose, which really causes us to focus in and provide the body with what it needs in regards to oxygen. Like
mm,
oxygenate yourself.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I think I would like to just be clear. So, if you have anxiety disorder, so I have this generalized anxiety disorder. If you have that disorder, whether you're on medication or you're not on medication, what I would say for you as it relates to rest, particularly, is that you really need to rely on your coping mechanisms. Because, I know Pastor Arby's talking about anxiety, but he's talking about the general anxiety that people who are non-diagnosed may feel as a part of, being restless. But for us, those of us who have anxiety disorder, it's a little different. So remembering that you still need rest. If you have anxiety disorder, you don't need more rest, but you do need rest. You may have to work a little bit more consciously to find areas of rest that work for you. You might have to, employ multiple coping mechanisms instead of just one or two like you normally would. So that's something just to keep in mind if you have anxiety disorder or you're on medication or not on.
that's good.
Yes, yes.
Karen, would you mind sharing the understanding we gained from Jesus and the woman with the issue of blood, talking about that, um, and his understanding about what he um,
Yes.
okay.
It's coming back to me. What happens when you're not rested? Stuff falls off the edges and you're no good. So the one with the issue of blood, as we know, the biblical story of Jesus walking and the disciples and the crowd around him, throngs of people around him, he was very cognizant of where he was, who he was, and how he was feeling, because as she touches him, he feels something come out of him. The only way Jesus could feel something come out of him was his being very aware of what was in him. I think that speaks to us being more self aware about how we are feeling emotionally, how we are feeling spiritually. Christian folks, we will pour out so much that we won't even know we won't even know that the Spirit has left us, right? We're more Samson than we are Jesus. And we need to be more Jesus, where we know we're tired. We know something is off kilter. We know. And it also recognizes that people can drain us at times. And we need to be aware of when we need to pull away. Pastor, preacher, teacher, apostle, whatever, Christian, Q saint, people, your interaction and praying for and being with and ministering to other people can have a drain on you. And that's not a bad thing. It's a reality that we have to recognize, and we need to be refreshed. We need to have something poured back into us so that, and that we get that by resting. Sometimes we think we have to keep going, going, going. Even Jesus pulled away from the disciples to go spend time alone with the Father. He rested. He could even rest in turmoil. We know it because he did it on a ship when they had to jostle him awake. Lord, don't you care? Because they were so unrested and scared, but he was at peace even in the midst of the storm. And that is what we aspire to. We are not Jesus, but we can aspire to those attributes.
That was good. That was good. That was good. I think I can go rest now.
Right. I'm like, you know what? When I get off of here, I'm heading home. I need rest.
Any last words, and then we'll have Pastor Karen to close us in prayer. Jalen, any last words?
I just think that we need to really give ourselves, I say it a lot, but give yourself grace. Resting is not something that you automatically know how to do, or we wouldn't have to be having these discussions. So take the time to learn about, listening to your body, listening to your spirit, and saying, like, do I really need rest right now? And then making the time for rest. I think that's super important.
Good. That's good. Mine would be, my last word would be, help. First of all, be open to accountability to those around you who are observing and saying, you could use a break. You need to take a break. And not feeling as though they're trying to throw you aside or ostracize you or criticize you. But the truth is that they care for you, and that you really need to hear them as they say it's time for a break.
Yeah, I agree. Ditto, ditto, and ditto. It is okay to take that 15-minute break your job pays you for. Take it. Take it. You do not have to work through it. Get away from your desk at lunch. I'm really just talking to myself. Get away from your desk at lunch. Those are small steps in this whole rest discussion. Those are very small steps. We don't do those things. We work through everything, and there are opportunities for us to be more rested.
Thank you. Would you close in prayer? Someone's watching who is going to wrestle with this, and some who don't understand what we've even shared, but pray that they'll have revelation. Pastor Karen.
Sure. Let's pray. God, we thank you always for the opportunity that we have to just be in discussion about our own soul care. God, you don't have us here having this discussion for no reason. You recognize what it is that we need and how we can be better. So we thank you for this. I thank you for this, even the expertise in the discussion about how we can get better rest. So God, I pray for those who are watching, struggling, who are tired, who don't even know that they are tired because they've gotten so accustomed to the way that they feel that they don't know that they're really operating at not their optimal. So God, I pray you would speak, give wisdom, give understanding. And God, I pray that you then give us rest. Someone's not sleeping, God. I pray, God, that you help them to sleep better. I pray, God, that you help that person who just doesn't believe that this is for them, recognize that it is.
Yes.
God, help us I heard my sister talk about coping mechanisms. God, maybe that's what we need, even
Yeah.
though we don't have a diagnosis, but because we're so much a workaholic, we need our own coping mechanism. So help us use the tools of the trade to be better so that you can get the glory in and through us. So we love you, God. We praise you for this opportunity of education. It is in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen. Again, thank you, Jaylyn. Thank you, Dr. Pastor Karen Stewart. We appreciate you. Listen, we'll be back next week. This is Bob Talk, but we'll see you next week, same time, same place on Bob Talk.
Bob
Bye,
Talk.
everybody.